So let's look at our second example, factoring a quadratic trinomial. Now, first thing I notice is I say my trinomial goes from x squared to x and then x to the 0 power, right? So the descending power is in quadratic form. And if this factors, it will factor into two what? Binomials. So let's go ahead and write the two binomials. Now we know that the first term of each binomial must multiply to give us x squared, right? So I'm going to put an x here and an x here because I know x times x is x squared, correct? And then I write all my factors of 7 because I know the second term in each binomial must multiply to give me the 7. Well, the only factors of 7 are 1 times 7, right? Oops, I don't know why I wrote 9. 1 times 7. So I'm going to go ahead and put a 1 here and a 7 here because I know that 1 times 7 gives me 7 and 1 plus 7 gives me 8, right? Now I told you, I said if this sign, the second sign is positive, that means both signs here and here must be the same. Now check this out. If you want to know what it's supposed to be, if this tells you they're supposed to be the same, then whatever this one is what goes in both. So this second one tells you they're supposed to be the same. The first one tells you they're supposed to both be what? Positive. Positive and positive. So you have successfully factored this trinomial right here. Okay, now you should always FOIL just to make sure you did it right, shouldn't you? So x times x is x squared. X times 7 is 7x. 1 times x is 1x. And 1 times 7 is 7. Now I'm going to combine like terms. So I have x squared plus 8x plus 7, which is exactly what I started with, right? Which tells me, this is my answer right here. It tells me that I factored it correctly. So let's look at our second example here. Now, first I always look and I say, is this in quadratic form? In other words, does it go x squared and then x and then no x right there? And this is in quadratic form, isn't it? And so I know that if this factors, because some of them won't factor, but if it factors, it must factor into two what? Binomials. So I'm going to go ahead and write the two binomials. And I have x squared right here. So I'm going to write that as x times what? X. Good. And then I need to write all my factors of 16. Well, let's start with 1. 1 times 16. 2 times 8. 3 doesn't go into it. 4 times 4. That looks like all of them, doesn't it? And now the one you need to pick is the one that when you add or subtract it, you get 10x, right? So 16 minus 1 won't give me 10, will it? 8 minus 2 won't give me 10, but guess what? 8 plus 2 will give me 10, won't it? So there's my answer, 2 and 8, right? Now, Leo, we said if this sign is positive, that means that both these signs will be the what? Positive. No. It means they'll both be the same. Oh, same. They could both be negative, right? But if it is positive and they're both the same, then you look to this one and it'll tell you what they're both going to be. They're both going to be what? Say positive, because this one's positive. There you go, positive, positive. So this is your answer. X plus 2 times x plus 8. So let's look at our last example in this group. Now, the first thing I do is I ask myself, is this in quadratic form? Does it go x squared and then just x and then no variable right here? Does it do that? Yes. So when it does that, okay, problems or expressions in this form, if they factor, will factor into a product of what? Two binomials. So I'm going to write two binomials being multiplied. What times what gives me x squared? X times x. And so then I write down, what are my factors of 8? 1 times 8, 2 times 4, and that's it, right? Now, which of those will add or subtract to equal 6? 2 and 4 will, won't they? So I'm going to write here 2 and 4, aren't I? Okay, now, if the second sign is a positive, that tells me what? They're the same. And then you look to the first sign, it tells you what they're both going to be. What are they both going to be? Negatives. And so that's your answer right there. And guys, every single time you should refoil it to check your answer. And if you don't get what you started with, you did it wrong, didn't you? Okay.